Welcome to Shadow of History, mysterious, dark, and untold stories from world history. Today, we bring you the fascinating tale of one of the shortest wars in history, the Anglo-Zanzibar War, a conflict that lasted a mere 38 minutes. In this quick and astonishing encounter, we'll explore how a brief yet intense battle unfolded, leaving behind a legacy that has intrigued historians for years. The Anglo-Zanzibar War took place on August 27, 1896, and is known as the shortest recorded war in history. Zanzibar, an island off the coast of East Africa, was a protectorate of the British Empire, and tensions had been rising between the Sultan of Zanzibar, Khalid bin Bargash, and the British authorities. The cause of the war? A succession dispute following the death of the previous Sultan, Hamad bin Thuwaini, just days before. Khalid bin Bargash seized the throne in a move that the British considered an affront to their influence in the region. The British had their own candidate for Sultan, and when Khalid took power without their approval, it set the stage for a rapid confrontation. The British issued an ultimatum demanding that Khalid step down and leave the palace by 9 a.m. on August 27th. When the deadline passed without compliance, the British decided to take military action. Zanzibar was a significant strategic location in East Africa, a hub for trade, and its control was crucial to British interests in the region. The British had long been involved in the political affairs of Zanzibar, and their intervention was seen as a way to assert their dominance. The Sultan's palace and military were no match for the might of the British forces, which included modern artillery, warships, and a heavily armed naval fleet. The battle began at 9:02 a.m., just 2 minutes after the expiration of the ultimatum. British warships stationed in the harbor began bombarding the palace and the defending forces. The Sultan's forces, although brave, were vastly outmatched. They had only a few hundred soldiers, along with some makeshift defenses, but their resistance was no match for the advanced firepower of the British. As the shelling intensified, the Sultan's palace was almost entirely destroyed. The British forces also targeted the few remaining artillery positions and barracks that the Sultan had at his disposal. The brief but devastating exchange of fire resulted in the deaths of around 40 Zanzibari soldiers, while the British suffered only one injury. By 9:40 a.m., just 38 minutes after the first shots were fired, Sultan Khalid had fled the palace, and the war was effectively over. The aftermath of the conflict was swift. The British quickly installed a puppet sultan, who was more amenable to British interests, and their control over Zanzibar was further solidified. Sultan Khalid, meanwhile, escaped to German East Africa, where he was granted asylum. His reign was short-lived, but it marked a significant chapter in the history of colonial conflicts. Though the Anglo-Zanzibar War was a military victory for the British, it left behind a legacy of imperialism and the exploitation of native populations. Zanzibar, like many other African nations, became a pawn in the struggle for European dominance, and the war itself is often viewed as a stark reminder of the lengths to which colonial powers would go to maintain control. Today, the Anglo-Zanzibar War is remembered for its brevity and absurdity. How could such a monumental conflict, one that involved artillery fire and warships, last only 38 minutes? In a world where wars can stretch on for years, this swift and almost comical episode stands as a stark contrast to the drawn-out conflicts of the modern age. Despite its short duration, the war had lasting effects on the region and the world. It highlighted the extent of British imperial power in the late 19th century and served as a reminder of the brutal methods employed by colonial powers to maintain their influence. Zanzibar would remain a British protectorate until 1963, when it gained independence and eventually merged with Tanganyika to form the modern nation of Tanzania. So, how did a war that lasted just 38 minutes shape the course of history? It may have been brief, but the Anglo-Zanzibar War serves as a symbol of the ruthless nature of imperialism and the vast disparity between the colonizers and the colonized. It is a stark reminder of the impact that colonial powers had on the countries they controlled, even in the most absurd and fleeting of conflicts. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the shortest, yet one of the most fascinating wars in history. If you found this story intriguing, make sure to subscribe to Shadow of History for more mysterious, dark, and untold stories from the annals of world history. Don't forget to like, share, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest videos. Until next time, stay curious and keep uncovering the untold stories of the past.